So now time passes. The I-40 is built, and the Route 66 is no longer a primary route for people to take. What happened then, and what were the adjustments? What were the difficulties and potential pitfalls that were experienced before, like kind of getting a footing back?
Well, let me back it up to in 1963, 3 years after he had opened the Big Texan, the old Dallas Highway was where Interstate 40 was going to be built. He had a chance to buy some property that was outside the city limits because back in the 60s, you couldn't buy beer on the weekends in the city limits of Amarillo. You had to go outside. So he found 6.5 acres on the Dallas Highway, which wasn't much. It was a 2-lane road. There was nothing to it. It was like a farm to market road at that point. He bought that 6.5 acres and put a beer joint out there. It's called a beer joint, where you're in your car and you pull by and you get a case of beer, take it, and it's outside the city limits. He bought that land for that reason, not put a Big Texan there, or not because he knew I-40 was going there, because nobody really thought that was on Route 66 at the time, which is now Amarillo Boulevard, that when I-40 opened in 1968, it just decimated Route 66. My dad's business went from a full dining room to one diner for the whole day. He had 8 kids. He had ventured off and done some other restaurants of his so-called caliber, these high-end culinary places that he really knew the culinary food. Like he put this beautiful restaurant on top of Bank of the Southwest, the 10th floor.
Mm-hmm.
It was called the Gold Tree, and it had all his fancy culinary food that he could do all these fancy recipes with. He had a private club up there, which he brought in entertainers from Las Vegas to entertain a floor show up there. I mean, it was way ahead of its time in Amarillo, and it just crashed, immediately crashed. 6 months into it, he was horrible financial shape. And he was also financially involved with 2 other restaurants that failed. So his finances were really bad. If it wasn't for the Big Texan and having his kids go there and work as well as his other dedicated employees, he would have been really broke. But when I-40 opened, he was really in big trouble. So he knew that he had the land over there, but he didn't have any money. So he thought, well, he had a friend that was in the catering business in Denver, Colorado. And he thought, if I could get up to Denver and start working with him up there, then I could go ahead and take over the operation for him up there, because the caterer up there will just start a new program for the government, which is now called Meals on Wheels. Oh. My dad knew that, well, I could go up there. I could take my 2 boys and go up there, Bobby and Danny, and we can get that program going. So I was in the 5th grade, Danny was in the 4th, and he took us up there, and we were operating out of a nasty little kitchen on Broadway Street up in Denver. We were sleeping on the floor. My dad would send us up to the convenience stores and buy all the newspapers out of the machine, and we would tape them to the windows. And when the staff would leave, we'd tape them up there and roll out our sleeping bags and sleep on the floor back there. We were broke. I mean, badly broke. And the Big Texan, with what it could make, was just barely enough to keep the doors open. And then my mom called, and because she had spotted these barracks from the old prisoner of war camp out at Pantex, they had these old 50-foot barracks that they were selling, trying to get rid of, take the camp down. And he thought, well, if I could get the wood off those, I could use that wood to build a new Big Texan on the location. He didn't have any other money. So he put a bid in on those cabins, those old POW cabins. And he got them all for $50 each. And I remember my mom called him in Denver and said, he took your offer, he'll sell you 6 of them. So the next day we loaded up the blue station wagon and we went back to
With
Amarillo.
your dad there, or your dad was still in Denver?
No, we all came back from Denver, me, Danny, and my dad. Drove all night, went to the day labor camp on Washington Street, got some workers, went over to the hardware store, got crowbars and hammers, and we went out there. And we started dismantling those barracks, pulling the nails out straight. We learned how to straighten nails. We knew how to stack the wood. That's where we learned to drive. And we were able to take that wood over to the new location and started building the Big Texan. And that's where we built a Big Texan at it. We were broke, but then we weren't doing very well, but we were able to build a Big Texan that used wood, and that's what built the first Big Texan on the I-40 location.
What was your relationship like with your father in the sense that it seemed like you and Danny were his go-to boys to go, hey, like, I'm gonna go, I need to go do this, but I need your help in order to keep the family running, or hey, we're gonna go build a Big Texan from what do you call it? From wood that we're gonna peel apart, straighten out, clean up, stack really neatly so we don't have bowing and things of that nature. How much did he rely on you, and how good did it feel, or how did it feel being relied on as much as young children?
We never really thought about the relationship with that. We knew that we had to get the job done. It had to be done. My dad was impatient and he was under tremendous amount of stress, and we knew to get the job done. If we were going to goof off, we did not let him see because we know it would be a slap upside the head. Having to deal with some of the people that were the day laborers. I mean, there were some real questionable characters out there, and being left out there all day with them. My dad would appear at noon with a box of hamburgers from the Big Texan. That's where we'd stop and we'd all eat. But some of those people were pretty undesirable, but they were out there pulling that wood apart. And then Danny and I were working to load it up. And that's where I learned how to drive a stick shift. That was my first car to drive at 12 years old because we'd take it back into town and drive up and drop it off. So, but my dad, it was a hard relationship. He was a hard working man, but he was under the gun, and it was a hard time for him. And as far as lovey-dovey or hugs or anything like that, it wasn't. We knew we had to grow up quick and learn right then and there that we got to make this thing happen. We didn't think about the severity of how much money we were behind or how much we owed or anything else. It was just go to work and get the job done, get up the next day and do that. And when you got out of school, you went directly out there to keep cleaning the wood and keep the process going. So it was strained because he wasn't real talkative a whole lot. He knew he was in dire straits on the deal. When the place opened, it changed. He turned into the showman he wanted to be. I don't really think that the pride of the Big Texan stayed with him as much as it would. He was always had this idea, just like the restaurant he put on top of the Bank of the Southwest. He never really truly appreciated what the Big Texan was. He was always distracted from it and always wanted to do something more that was more of his training and breeding.
Caliber.
Yeah. And it was hard for him sometimes to do that because he really wanted the people of Amarillo to embrace the Big Texan and be proud of it, like he thought they would be. But most of them thought, that's not our Western heritage. We're a little bit above that. We're more than just cattle ranchers. We're sophisticated. We have a lot more to offer the world than just cowboys and our old heritage. He really appreciated it and loved it, but was very disappointed that it wasn't accepted by them, and it really affected him. Whereas today we're spoiled because we like people that's on vacation. We want people in the vacation mindset. They're out to have a good time. They walk in your front door, they take their credit card out, feed me, entertain me, take care of my kids, show me what Texas is all about. That's what we love. You have local people that don't fully appreciate it and have a lot more entitlement because it's their town. They look at the back of a phone book to find a coupon to get a discount. People on vacation don't. They want to spend the money. They want the experience.
Yeah.
They want to be entertained, and you get spoiled by that. You really do. But he had trouble with that fact that Amarillo didn't embrace what he did, and it was always sad. It was the word pathetic. It's sometimes I felt that when people didn't appreciate him in the way he acted, I thought it was pathetic because he had something that the world wanted, but the local people didn't embrace, and he could never coordinate that balance inside his head with it.
Do,
And
but do you think it's It's not that they weren't willing to embrace it. I could be wrong. Like they're not willing to embrace it, but because they're around it so much of their life that they don't really see what's so unique about something that is an everyday thing. But really, when it- they don't understand that this is your backyard that can easily be picked up off of.
I think it's more like if you lived in New York City and you drove past the Statue of Liberty every day, you just think it's just a fixture there. You don't really think that much about it. But when you have friends in town, if they do a fireworks show there, if you want to do something special with somebody from out of town, that's where you go. That's when you act like a tourist. And mostly in Amarillo, it's that way. Some people with the success of the Big Texan and the notoriety of it, there is some jealousy. Well, like in any kind of successful deal. I mean, there's people that condone it because it's not theirs. It's they're getting rich on playing up the cowboy mystique, which really isn't true. They don't really do that in real life,
Yeah,
but the Big Texan we do because it's a wet canvas for tourists to come in and paint every day what they think Texas really is. And that's what's fun about it is you get those people. I mean, coming in and they're so happy to be there. And little things that you don't think about, like a tumbleweed on the exit ramp. They'll run out and damn near get run over to pick up a tumbleweed. And they're so excited about a tumbleweed.
yeah.
And
People don't believe that that actually still happens.
yeah,
To you may be hearing that dude in the background of your head, but really it's just a normal day. It's just a nice windy day as typical, and there's a
yeah,
tumbleweed going down the road.
yeah. They're so excited when we say y'all or oh, I love your accent. We listen to it every day. No one appreciates it when you live here, but when you have people come in from outside the town that's on vacation, my God, they're so excited about it. Say, talk some more for us. Talk some more for us. So much fun.
Well, going back to your father was a trained culinary chef. Like he really could do some magic with food, right? So like his skill set was far more superior than just a steak or something that he probably would consider more simplistic. Do you think from that perspective, he thought that even his skill set wasn't being maximized and he felt that he was only like if you have 100% of your brain, the Big Texan only took 10-15% of it. Now, he doesn't realize that he had that magic and that 15% that he may have been using on doing the Big Texan, but his 85% of skill and capabilities were underutilized, and he felt that those pieces were for some reason not jiving together based off of this persona of the Big Texan and what his capabilities as a true chef.
Because I think that it was more about being an outsider, the Yankee that came
Hmm.
down here and wanted to be part of the good old boys in this town. I, I really think that's what got him more than anything else. Why wasn't he invited to these country club things? Why wasn't he invited to stuff? Why didn't he fit in? It was playing up on people's heritage, and they just it wasn't accepted in it. And I think that more than anything else, it really bothered him. It crushed him at times. That why am I not getting the attention I should get on this thing? I mean, if they don't like this, then I'll go do this beautiful, fancy culinary restaurant that has waiters in white jackets and silver buttons on, and it felt flat. Yet it was just the most incredible thing. But it was so far ahead of its time in Amarillo, and even now, I don't think it would work now. It just was one of those things that this doesn't apply to that area. And when you have a larger number of people that's going through Amarillo on the highway every day than you do that live there, that's the market you want to be on. We call it the Mississippi River. And you want to be right next to that Mississippi River. People in tourism understand that. A lot of people that aren't in tourism don't because I mean, what a wonderful group of people to deal with.
Hmm.
I mean, that's what you want. And my dad, he forgot that. He lost sight of that because his pursuit was to get, I want to be something in Amarillo.
Embraced.
Yeah. Yeah.
You just said Yankee, so he was from New York originally?
No, I say
Oh,
Yankee.
okay.
I say anything but Texas.
Anything but Texas. Okay.
Anything east of the Mississippi River.
Hmm. So, where was the idea of grabbing up, or did he grab up, or did he buy and build billboards across U.S. where people would know that, hey, the Big Texan is located in Amarillo, Texas?
Well, it really came one at a time because when he had established the free 70-ton steak, which is in March of his first year of business, with the Cowboys, going back to the Cowboys at the Big 12 top in the middle of the dining room, they were always trying to out eat who could eat the most, who could eat the fastest amount of 12 rolls at a time. He said, next Friday, whoever puts $5 down in any of these seats gets to sit there, and I'm going to bring out 1 pound steaks over an hour period of time. And whoever eats the most 1 pound steaks in that hour period of time gets all those $5 bills, which was $60. So the place was just crazy that Friday with these 12 eaters that were there. And one guy at the end of the hour had eaten 4.5 1 pound steaks, which was 72 ounces. He also showed off and really wanted to bust everybody up at the table by ordering a baked potato. I'm still hungry. Oh, bring me a salad, bring me a roll, and bring me a shrimp cocktail. He was just showing off to him. And at the end of the hour, he had eaten all that. And my dad said, anybody from this day forward that can eat 4.5 1 pound steaks, 72 ounces, and a baked potato, shrimp cocktail, roll, butter, and a tossed salad gets it for free. And that's where it all started. And with that challenge, that was the ultimate, put the battery on your shoulder, knock it off my shoulder. And I'm a Texan. Everything's big in Texas. If you can eat like me, you get your meal for free. And he took a chance on a billboard on each end of town because he saw this guy that had this prairie dog town. And he had billboards, and he had been drinking coffee with my dad and said, you should think about getting some billboards and offering the steak on the billboard. So what they put up there was free 72-ounce steak dinner if you can eat it 1 hour. And he put those two up there. And I mean, it was just like that horse in the parking lot. I mean, it just drew people like crazy because it's the ultimate Texas challenge. Are you big enough to be a Texan? Can you eat a 72 ounce like we all do here in Texas? So the challenge is out there, and everybody eats, and everybody has stories about eating big and other people that eat big. And he hit that niche. And with the Texas, the mystique of Texas, that's what set it on fire. My God, and still 65 years later, almost 20 people attempt it a day, and it's broadcast worldwide. It goes out on live stream to Indonesia, to Sydney, Australia, to Bangkok, and there's bars around that have it on all day long in their bar. And people bet on whenever they see somebody up there, they bet on if they're going to do it or not. And if one of the cameras on the tables, if one of the tables gets, the cameras get messed up a little bit, all of a sudden the internet, we get people calling from Sydney, Australia saying, your camera's off on that. We can't see the table right. Can you fix it? We're going, and then we realize they're betting on this stuff. So people are watching this 24 hours a day.
Wow, that's unique.
All over the
Interesting.
world. I mean, who would do that? Well, it just happens. Can we say, oh yeah, we created that? No. I mean, it was just one of those organically grown things that happened out of the Big Texan, which is that's the best kind of all.